Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 186, the podcast where we explore the inanity of my pronunciation. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince? I mean Lotus Prince?
Lotus plants.
Lotus pronunciation?
Jumble gams. And
Dracologist. I am very good with pronunciations. Mr. Spock,
Strap in,
please.
by the way, listeners, because the entire podcast is going to be like this.
No, oh, fuck that.
Nobody is doing that.
Oh, I don't know what I've already hit my tolerance, I think, already.
It was fun right up until it wasn't.
Now you can just believe that I meant to mince pronunciate.
Woof. Is it even possible to mispronounce something that isn't a word?
Well, you can say
Mince
mincing
pronunciate.
pronunciations, which is also a way to say it. Like, I can't even hold a voice or an accent.
But yeah, we're on our way here for another episode, another riveting episode of Corrective Consciousness. Corrective Consciousness. And we will be talking about what we want out of future hardware. Now, I will preface this. I'm actually mispronouncing like stuff by accident, which is terrible. I think I'm just getting tired.
It's terrible. Just like Fucker in the Woods was horrible.
Lotus, should we reboot or revise? It seems to be having issues with it running.
Yeah, smack him a couple times until it starts working.
And my whole life needs a hard reset, really. But anyway, I wanted to see what you guys want out of future hardware. So I will preface this for why I brought up this week. Now, not only do I want to hear your ideas on what you want gaming hardware to look like in the future, like what consoles will be like, what features you would want them to have, all these things. But I also am loving the current landscape of like retro gaming stuff. It is like one of the coolest times to be a retro gamer, like especially if you're really into Genesis and Super Nintendo stuff. The reason why I brought this up is this weekend I took a full dive into like setting up my analog SG and Super NT. For the longest time, I just had them kind of sitting there, but not updated. I hadn't updated them with the jailbreak firmware and all that other stuff. And I finally got around to like adjusting the resolution to make it perfect and all that kinds of stuff. So I've been really into kind of like tweaking it and getting my my setup just the way I wanted it. And I was just marveling in the fact that like this day and age, I basically have an aftermarket Super Nintendo that is better than the original hardware, which we've never really had before. And I can honestly say that it's better than the original hardware in that it emulates it perfectly, but it doesn't have like any of the volatile components, such as like all of the capacitors that can be linking on the old systems, all the noise that comes from imperfections in making an analog video signal. There's all kinds of things that can interrupt a good video signal. And all that stuff, and it's outputting like a digital signal in which like the original hardware never had.
Which you could choose the resolution of as well, like 720, 1080.
Yeah, it's just so cool. And once you have it set up, it is good to go. Like I absolutely love it. And I was playing some Super Castlevania 4, and I was just like, this is like the cleanest I've ever heard and sounded this and it's giving me the lag-free experience.
Suddenly the chirps and beeps of the chip music suddenly becomes an orchestra.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it also I have to put forth the fact that I'm playing it in conjunction with an SD to SNES or whatever the new the FX Pro or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
That has the ability to play like MP3 enhanced Super Nintendo games. So like I can play on this hardware, like for instance, Rock and Roll Racing with the original like non-ripped off music, like the actual like music that they tried to rip off.
Yeah.
Like I could play Paranoid from Ozzy Osbourne or whatever. Yeah. Black Sabbath, yes.
Wow, I can't believe Ozzy Osbourne ripped off of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
What?
Black Sabbath.
What?
You could say that about any. I can't believe Vanilla Ice ripped off Vanilla Ice. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I can't believe the tarot cards from hundreds of years ago ripped off of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
But yeah, I was just marveling at the fact that I'm playing like this fantastic like recreation of my childhood, but even better. You know, it's like I will never go back to like the analog version of like the original like actual analog versions of these systems, because the new ones are just so good. Like it's that great. And you know, I have access to like all the old games and all that stuff, and like, you know, versions of the game that could never exist back then. So I kind of wanted to pose this question. Like, I wanted to kind of have an open forum, like talk about like, what do you hope hardware will do in the future? Like, and for different purposes, you know, not just, you know, what you hope the PS5 will do. Lotus, do you have an idea?
Well, I mean, this is kind of building off of something that already exists, but
That's fine too.
What I really would like is just more comprehensive handheld, like virtual store libraries. You know, like PSP, Vita, the various Game Boys and DS stuff. It would just be great to be able to get easy access to those without having an ancient Game Boy.
Yeah, so are you going? Are you basically going along with the, you know, the analog like pocket kind of stuff? Is that what you're thinking of?
That could work, or even just taking the virtual store that exists on the Switch or the PS4 or whatever and just expanding them.
Okay, so the a bigger library.
I suppose probably anything at all on the DS or 3DS library, but like I know that, for example, the Ace Attorney original trilogy is available on, you know, Switch and PS4.
It's actually available on quite a few things.
Yeah, I think PC as well.
And also, it was first available like on the Wii. You could just get it on the straight up Wii. Yeah.
But like all the sequels, you know, that kind of stuff. The 3DS stuff. The what was the other thing? Oh, like all the Layton games as well.
Sure.
Those would just be really cool to have on just really other platforms. I just like playing things with a controller besides, and again, this is more of a niche thing, but just the ability to record those would be great.
Yeah, my big one, my big ones that for like the DS, especially are like the Konami games of that era.
Okay.
So like for the original DS, you have like the 3 Castlevania games are really really good on that system. I love them. You have Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia. I love all 3 of those games very much. They're amazing. They're really really good. And also you have Contra 4 from them as well. So all of those games are really fantastic. I mean, there's plenty of other great DS games, but I really hope they come up with like a good solution. You know, the touchscreen interface and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we have pretty decent like regular DS. I don't know about 3DS, but I'm sure there's something going on with that. But regular DS emulation, it's pretty good. But I would love like an FPGA solution eventually.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
With the 3DS, the only thing I'm really aware of isn't emulation, but it's the ability to sort of like stream your 3DS to like a PC if you hook up the line-in wire. So like, it's kind of janky, but it's something.
Yeah, I mean, from that's going to be like one of those lost era games, because like with all the streamers and stuff out there, it really stinks that like the DS and the 3DS like don't have an easy solution for this stuff. I mean, there's a scant few like DS games converted on the Wii U officially.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the major games got passed up on. Like a lot of the really great DS games. Like I'm thinking like like the Labyrinth games that I really like. What are they called? Etrian Odyssey games. I love those games, and like there's no ports or anything for those.
Actually, now that I think about it, you know what else would be really great is you know how you mentioned last week's Reactive Consciousness. You know, suddenly Twin Beards saved their Flash game and they made it an executable file. And I recently read that like a bajillion internet Flash games were preserved on some website somewhere.
That's great.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But what else I was thinking of was just the various phone games, because you just can't play that shit anymore. Like, it'd be great to bring back a lot of phone games that are dead because the OS that ran them is dead, you know?
Yeah, I would really love it if somebody would come out with like maybe even a Java like a Java retro hardware, you know, just that you could stream with and even like kind of set something up with, or even develop for it, because there's some really cool Java games out there that you may not have even realized happened because it depended on the phone you had and like all that other stuff. What was that?
Like, I heard like some unquestionable amount of the Flash game got saved and archived.
Well, yeah, I mentioned that. Yeah,
in playable form.
Oh yeah, like exactly, like stuff like that. So like for phone games, that would also be cool, because as far as I'm aware, that has not happened.
Yeah,
and there's
Doom,
like weird
Doom
stuff.
RPG.
Yeah, Doom RPG. There's a Resident Evil phone game. There's just
Silent Hill one.
I think there's a couple of weird Silent Hill ones. There's Resident Evil 4 like Android version, which is bizarre.
There were even like Time Crisis spin-offs that you could use like the number pad to like as a grid as to where you were shooting and stuff like that. Oh yeah, there was all kinds of stuff for Java phones, I remember back in the day.
And there's a ton of like stuff you read about in Hardcore Gaming 1. Like, oh, by the way, this game also had a weird Japanese phone spin-off that nobody can play anymore. It's like,
even Final Fantasy VII had a game like that. Yeah. I mean, those were really popular. I mean, we even have some ports from those. I mean, like the Final Fantasy After Years, I think, started off as Java games.
Jeez.
Like the Final Fantasy IV After Years like expansion. Yeah, there's like all kinds of stuff on those. I would love a way to preserve iOS games too. I mean, I was just thinking about, you know, there's a few things out there that I'm remembering. So
that's what the Silent Hill games were, by the way. Those were iOS titles, I believe.
Yeah, here's one for you. Remember the old iPods with the click wheel and all that?
I mean, I remember that there were old iPods. I never owned any. I don't know.
Okay, so they basically had a scrolling wheel on it, and that the later ones actually had games you could buy for it, and Square Enix straight up made a game for this called like it was Song Summoner, and it was like an RPG. Where the characters were based off of your songs. It was kind of like Monster Hunter or something. You know, like the characters in there in the game were based off of like the songs and how many times they were played and all that stuff.
That's clever.
Is pretty cool. There was even a game made by what was it? The company who made Guitar Hero, the original one, and then Rock Band. Yeah, exactly. So Harmonix made a game that was very similar to Amplitude for it as well. It was really interesting. But yeah, that would be really neat. How about you, Dracologist? Is there any like hardware wants that you would you would like here?
I need to upgrade my rig at some point. So,
sure.
Yeah, like I was like talking about NAS and like, okay, you want to talk about console add-ons and remakes, and like I am a person who grown up on Commodore 64 and DOS. Like basically just well. As for hardware, I think like not something new I want, but the current gears to be more freely available for everyone. Like basically cheaper. I would say like technological efficiency would be nice, like better ventilation, better calculation for like process, like you have like 8 like how do you call it, like multi-core processors.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Like you have to have an entire like cooling system to that. Like you have to submerge it into fucking Antarctica so it doesn't overload.
Sure.
It's still, but finding more interesting ways for this equipment to work would be nice. Or I'm still waiting for, like, this is theoretical of course, but like quantum processors are still in development, and it is very, very interesting.
Yeah, quantum processors are crazy. Like with the things I hear you could do with them, they're just nuts.
Wasn't that a Bond movie, The Quantum of Process?
Yeah.
It was Solace.
No, it was very. It had very shaky camera.
Yeah, that is the only time I have ever gotten motion sickness from watching like a movie, like ever.
Have you seen the Bourne movies?
I saw the first one.
Because like those are the most wobbliest movies.
They are. The first one was pretty shaky, but like maybe it's because I saw Quantum of Solace in a theater. Maybe that.
The big one I heard was Cloverfield. Cloverfield was like the big one.
Found footage will fuck you up because the whole point is like whoa with the camera. So like I don't think I've seen any found footage movies. So like I've seen small clips of stuff like Cloverfield, but I haven't watched the whole movie that way. I watched Hardcore Henry in the first person, but that wasn't shot like it's trying to make me ill, so I didn't mind that.
Yeah, but I wanted to throw out these because there's another like thing that I'm hopeful for. So, BU or the developer of Hegon is coming out with like patched versions of his his ROMs that will run on his emulator like in full widescreen, just like craziness, and run them really, really well. I'm hoping that there will be retro hardware that does stuff that's either similar or like incorporates that kind of technology into it, like enhances the games that you love from back then even more.
Yeah, super clever.
Like I really love these fan projects that are making everything great. I mean, Analog has even said that recently that apparently if there are if there's enough support, they may even do another run of the Analog NT Mini, which is like the NES version, which is pretty cool. I love all of this stuff. I've long wanted something like the Analog Pocket, where it's like a Game Boy, but like with a dock and all that stuff.
I'm all about that dock.
It's just so cool. I can't wait to play Neo Geo Pocket Color games. I know it sounds stupid, but I can't wait to play Neo Geo Pocket Colors games like perfectly on the
And
TV.
what
It's
interests
going to be
me
an
is
amazing
that
thing.
that would also render the no longer require the need of a GameCube for just about anything. You know, it's the GameCube remains useful because of the Game Boy Player, but with the
Sure.
analog Pocket, you don't need the GameCube upscaler. You don't need to worry about that anymore. The only thing you would need a GameCube for is a Fire Emblem Path of Radiance save file.
Well, I mean, you could just have a Wii then.
That's
I mean,
true.
yeah, you could have an early Wii and then upscale that, or you don't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
have to upscale it, but I'm sure it helps to upscale
Like,
it.
why
So like
not? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, soon enough I won't need a GameCube really
Well,
at
that's the
all.
thing. Yeah, the Wii U is a Wii. The Wii is a GameCube, and the GameCube is a Game Boy.
I mean, there's a lot of really cool projects in development. Like I'm just about to be diving into the Mister project that I've been talking about recently, and that's like an FPGA system that has like all these open source cores going on all at once. So, Dracologist, you'll be happy to learn that one of the reasons why I really want a Mister is because it has like all the old PC platforms already on it. Like there's an Amiga core that apparently is like one of the best cores. I'm really looking forward to that. There's a Commodore 64 one and an MSX one as well. So I am like all about that. Maybe even some Spectrum, dare I say, games. So have you ever played any Spectrum games? I don't know if Hungary
No,
ever
I
got that kind
only
of
had
stuff.
access to Commodore 64, Commodore 64 Super, or what I don't know what it was called, um, and very old PC stuff like
Gotcha.
286, 386, 486, and Pentium. And
Sure. Like all the derivatives of the Windows PC. Yeah, gotcha. You never really had the Amiga in your day,
sadly not, but
really?
apparently it was the bee's knees.
Yeah, because it's the successor to the Commodore 64. I would think that the Amiga would have been around there. But yeah, I really want to check out like the Amiga stuff that like a friend of the show, Retro Gamer, really loved. I mean, like there's all kinds of stuff, like the Turricane games that I really want to like dive into and like experience all that great music and like amazing parallax scrolling but terrible controls. Like like I'm speaking specifically about like games like Shadow of the Beast.
Shadow of the Beast was like everyone in the demo scene loved that game, but that
they
game is
love the
actually
way it looks and sounds, but they don't like the way it plays. Nobody likes the way it
yes.
plays. Come on. Nobody likes that. But I'm excited for all kinds of stuff like that. Like, and you could hook up like, one of the cool things about these FPGA systems is you could hook up like a regular mouse to it. You can't do that.
Yeah, super
With
cool.
real Amiga hardware. Like I could hook up like a regular laser mouse. Another thing is that like a lot of the cores have support for light guns. So by that I mean they give you options for it. Like you can do either use a mouse to do a cursor, or you could hook up a Wii remote
Yeah, that's
and
really
do it that
cool.
way. That's like amazing. I've been waiting. Like one of the big drawbacks to digital gaming now is light gun games. I'm a huge fan of light gun games. I love them. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to play, Duck Hunt, like on my current TV.
Question: does
Yeah,
a light gun would require a CRT?
it does. And with these FPGA systems, they program around those limitations.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Like, I mean, like the reason, for example, like what Vice was saying, a mouse cursor obviously works on anything, And a Wii remote doesn't use the TV, it uses the infrared sensor that comes with the Wii, so it doesn't care what kind of TV you have. So like the TV could be off and it would still work, so that's why you can dodge it with that way too.
I actually really like the Super Scope games, for instance. One of my favorite games for Super Nintendo is Metal Combat and Battle Clash. I love those games. They're really, really good. They're kind of like Punch-Out, but with the Super Scope. They're really a lot of fun. And those are never getting ported. And, like, Nintendo doesn't care about that stuff, and it's because nobody else cares about that stuff, but I do. I can't wait until like we get to the level where we have FPGAs emulating like Super Nintendo or PlayStation 2.
Yeah, well, actually, speaking of PlayStation,
like GunCon.
I was gonna say one thing I would love to be able to play is Time Crisis 1, because while I technically can play that, it's a PS1 game. I talked about this a long time ago on the podcast, but that game is like unplayable with a controller. You need a light gun to play that game. With Time Crisis 2 and 3...
the cursor's super tiny, right?
I game over on the first level. Like, with Time Crisis 2 and 3, you can definitely beat those games with controllers, but Time Crisis 1 is, like, it's just not happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love this new part of the revolution, and I also wanted to talk about like I can't wait. Like we had a question about this recently. Like I kind of want haptic feedback in new hardware too. I can't wait for like there to be a glove, like an actual glove, not the fucking power glove that can detect finger movement, like. And also like pull back on your fingers so it feels like there's something there. Like that would be so cool.
Yeah, that was, actually, Dracologist mentioned that in one of the comments.
Yep.
There is a tactile feedback glove for VR.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there
I gotta look this up.
Dracologist had more to say in that comment, but that's the part that's relevant to this current conversation right now.
well, why don't you read his comment while we're here?
Okay, so the rest of the comment was, as far as I remember, this is, I believe...
This is neat. It looks like a big claw.
Now,
it's actually...
this is, I think Dracologist was talking about that show, The Prisoner. He says, as far as I remember, the rover's job was not to kill, but to recapture people. So, maybe?
It does kill them, though. Okay. It does. It does recapture them, but it also kills them.
And he also said, well, you love Konami games more than Konami does. And he says, as far as sound design, I think we kind of reached the best we can do with tech. Hi-fi speakers and sound cards, all the possible effects, surround sound. Mostly, I would say what we lack is what we would do with this tech and what we convey across it. Good music and sound effects are the things we often need more. Mm-hmm. So now, moving right on to other comments. Neko Green Dragon says, speaking of FF7, I'm one of the few people who enjoys the slow plotting thinking of turn-based combat. I just want a graphical update so the remake or whatever is being called is not for me. Oh well. School Filmer says, well, I've tried out Byleth and Smash Ultimate, and let's just say I need more training with them before I try using them whenever I'm at the twins' place. They're part of the family. Sure, they may be slow, but if you let them, they'll hit you like a truck, especially if you're unfortunate enough to be on the receiving end of Aimer, which is the axe. I had quite a bit of fun with the character, though. Another character I'd love to see in Smash, Amaterasu from Okami. That is kind of a glaring omission, isn't it? I've played Okami HD on the Switch quite a bit, 50 hours, and it was well worth it, and she does have a lot of potential with her weaponry. In fact, I think someone made a what-if video on her moveset.
They should have Fat Mega Man.
Personally, I'm rooting for Trace from Axiom Verge.
Ooh, hello.
Oh,
That's a clever idea.
I mean, like, bad cover art Mega Man,
Well, I mean, that's already been covered in Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Yeah, but I want him in Smash, so I don't have to play that game.
Alright, so Living Corpse had a few comments. Uses a warning screen saying this game contains offensive language or whatever. Sinking City had one mentioning it not only had blood, gore, and disturbing images, but also racist remarks. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a warning screen for, like, racist remarks.
Mafia 3?
Okay, fair enough. I haven't played that one. But he says, not defending offensive slurs, but I do understand context with time and story. Like, if a game is set during, fucking Lovecraft times, then, certain words might be used more than would be acceptable today. Boy, remember when the biggest controversy in translations was removing references to hentai magazines and Mystic Ninja?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a small thing. It's not
I
like
know. Also, there's...
it's not like you're stifling anybody's
I know.
creativity
Also,
here.
there's
Come
rumors
on.
going that Resident Evil 8 is going to be werewolf-like creatures. Even if they are BOWs, using
would be
wolf
neat.
and human DNA and not magical werewolves, I still want silver bullets to be a rare ammo pickup that does more damage than normal. Both as a nod to the classic werewolf myth, and also because silver is just heavy, so it might do more damage than your average bullet. Yeah, Dracologist?
What are we talking? What
heavier
was
than
that?
lead.
New Resident Evil game or what?
He's just saying rumors that Resident Evil 8 might have that, like werewolf stuff.
Oh, that would be sweet.
That'd be interesting.
That would be really neat.
And then finally, General Ledger says, for what should be improved on in video games, I'd like to see more nuance in terms of player choices influencing the playable character's personality, especially in games in which you play as a self-insert character. Now, this is no longer General Ledger talking, this is me talking. But you know how in like Fallout, certain dialogue options might be open that wouldn't otherwise be available if your stats are within certain ranges and stuff like that.
I love
or
that.
Or like based on your
Yeah.
karma, people might like or dislike you, that kind of thing. So
Sure.
back to
Charisma.
exactly. So back to Ledger. Currently, games seem to showcase personality only in how other characters react to your character. If the personality shined through more in your, like the PC's facial expressions, tone of voice, animations. Yeah, tone of voice, that'd be like, I've seen a little of that. Then my character would feel more fleshed out and unique. I do realize that'd be incredibly taxing on the game creators, but it'd be interesting to see it pulled off. That is true. Even when you do get more of an actual development of your character, it really is how other characters react to you, because you don't see your own face terribly often. And tone of voice, yeah, like you might sound different depending on how you've enhanced yourself or whatever. Man, that'd be hard to pull off, but that would be really cool if it happened. I could see what I imagine that happening in would be a game where the game is basically a tech demo. Like the entire game is an hour long, but like, look at this thing we did. Can you fucking believe it? Like I could see that kind of happening. But like a long epic game, good luck actually making that. The closest thing I could think of, and this is not character development, but situational context, was Spider-Man for PS4, where the actor for Spider-Man specifically did most of his like plot lines, like, Spider-Man, there's a new thing coming up, you gotta go over there. And it's like, oh, what? Okay, I'm going over there. He recorded his lines twice. One just reading his lines, and the other kind of
really
winded
impressive.
because
he'd be fighting or swinging or whatever,
or not swinging, so you'd clearly sound more intense and stressed when you're swinging, like, yeah, I'm getting over there, versus just chatting. Like, that's unbelievable.
Hi kids, we're home early.
I don't know what that has to do with anything.
I don't know, it's just like the cadence of your voice. It just reminds
Hi
me
kids, home early.
of it.
But yeah, so those are the comments. Now we have a question from School Filmer. Do you have any freeware games to talk about? I used to look high and low for these way back then. Things like Dink Smallwood, Bonesaw, Mr. Smoozles Goes Nutso. That one used to be like $20 back in 2006. And it's been free since 2011 due to the creator having been 18 years in the game business. And a whole heap of others I might have forgotten. Damn, I never heard any of those. So do you guys have any freeware games to discuss? Like, a lot of times when
I'm sure you know a bunch, Dracologist.
Yeah, a lot of times when I think of freeware, it's not quite freeware, it's like shareware. So it's like, oh, episode 1 of this game is freeware, kind of.
Freeware means that you can actually mod it.
Huh.
Well then.
Like, you have access to the source code.
Oh.
That is freeware. Dink Smallwood actually... Speak, I'm human. Dink Smallwood actually had this code released, so people could actually turn it into other
That's
stuff.
clever.
Oh, wow.
I know Duke Nukem 3D, they just gave you the source code, I believe, for that one. I can't think of many games that have source code available. Wow, that's tough. That's really hard. I don't know if this is source
Star Control 2 Urcon Masters, I think, is open source
Really?
at the moment.
I don't know if this was
Yeah.
considered open source, maybe, but I remember Doom 3 let you build your own levels. Like, I remember.
Yeah, it
Well,
was moddable.
yeah, but the Doom wasn't like that. Was an editor added later to the game.
Okay, okay. Because I remember one guy, like, just made his
Freeware
house,
games.
which is, like, the coolest thing.
That
So I have a good selection
Oh, didn't you
here.
say VVVVE just recently released a source code?
They did. There's Barclay's Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, which is one of our
Wait,
favorites.
that released
That
that
was a
that
freeware
released no
game.
that game's not releasing source. That's Game Maker. That like
No, this is a freeware game
no, but
though.
Dracologist just said that freeware means that they released the source code, not that it costs nothing.
Yeah, but that's the question.
you can.
The question
Well,
is, do you have any freeware games to talk about?
that is like, don't let be that
Oh, games that are
the
made
barrier
from
that-
freeware, you mean?
No,
games that are free right now. If you want a source code, like the game that has source code available, for example, there is Abuse for the DOS, and
Oh yeah, that's
sure
kind of like a 2D Doomish kind of game, right?
it's a platformer that has it very much feels like taken easy hints from Aliens and I don't know what else. It's a 360 aiming game actually,
Oh.
but yeah, it's a good run and jump gun game with a little bit of horror element. Well, mostly because it's very aggressive against you. So you like it likes to play with the interpretations like so you're trying to get through, waiting for a door to open, and suddenly the wall behind you starts to crack, and before you can like the door opens, like suddenly monsters start pouring in through the wall.
Huh.
As for others like freeware games, I'm fairly like I don't know, but I think that the Total Annihilation game engine is available. I guess it's available because there is Spring Lobby, which is sort of like an edited version of the Total Annihilation games based on that engine.
Oh, Half-Life. There's Half-Life. Well, I don't know if this really counts, but like Valve released that program where you could like make movies with Half-Life stuff.
Oh yeah,
You have to
yeah.
really get good at that, but if you do,
I think they first revealed it with Left 4 Dead, if I remember right. I have another freeware title based off of the question of the week
Yeah.
here. Do you remember Bubsy 3D, Bubsy Visits, the James Turrell
oh
retrospective?
yeah, that was pretty wild.
I definitely recommend
Yes.
that.
There's also
There's no explanation you want to give for that. Like people should
it's
know
like
what
Frog
they're getting into
Fractions.
with that.
Like the less you know, the better. Just
Yeah,
look at,
definitely check it out.
if we're talking about games that are just free, I believe Apogee or whatever it's called now, I guess 3D Realms.
3D Realms.
I believe even on Steam, Biomenace is free. That game
Oh,
ain't
yeah.
bad. It's kind of like Duke Nukem, like not Duke Nukem 3D, but side-scrolling Duke
Duplicate
Nukem.
2 and
Yeah.
1.
I have another one. Hero Core. Hero Core is a great freeware game. I loved it. And it's a sequel to Hero, which was pretty good, but the Hero Core was even better. It's like a monochrome, like almost Game Boy like a Metroidvania where you're a guy with a jetpack, and it's a lot of fun. It's really good.
Nice.
How about you, Dracologist? I know you have a few up your sleeve.
I currently is browsing my Abadon, my Abadonware, which is chock full of freeware games. So if you have any kind of wish to look for some, you can always go there. Mind you, these are very old games.
Well, yeah, it's
I'm
abandonware.
okay with that.
Yeah.
Well, so Abadonware,
Yeah.
yes, but freeware games today.
Yeah, that
Let
is
me
tough.
think.
I mean, this is one like you really have to be in the right mindset for this. So I don't know if I'd fully recommend it for general audiences. But there's the Fucker in the Woods, the Fucker trilogy.
If you like these monsters, that makes absolute
Yeah,
no
you
sense.
really gotta like it. But if you do, oh boy.
I think Toki Doki Literature Club is completely
That's a
free,
good
isn't it?
point. Yeah, that is a game changer.
Any Hickware games, well, Hick Software, I don't know, the guy who made shooter not every extend, Warning Forever.
Oh yeah, Warning Forever is great.
I
yeah,
don't know that
no, that's
one.
a good one.
It's
Yeah.
the shoot 'em up with the constantly evolving boss fights.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I feel that is kind of a letdown in that game, that your gun never changes. You always have the same gun.
Okay.
And it kind of gets boring.
Yeah, fair enough.
While the enemy gets always more difficult. It's kind of unfair.
Yeah, I think we have Chex Quest.
Oh
3.
yeah.
That's freeware.
That's Doom. That's basically Doom.
And
You can use it on GZ
and
actually.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's on the Doom
we have
engine.
been doing
You know what was really funny is I saw on one of the Games Done quick runs. There was a year when somebody did Chex Quest, but one thing that was funny is that I think the first episode had like, what was it, like 6 levels or something? I forgot what it was.
That sounds
It was
right.
something like that. But like, because it was basically Doom, except they changed the first 6 or however many levels in the Chex Quest stuff, it's really just a Chex Quest skin on Doom. So the guy used the level select code to go to like level 8, and it was just straight up Phobos Anomaly from Doom, except everything was like Chex Quest sprites and textures.
Yeah, because like the entities has been replaced.
Yeah,
like,
so it's just it's Phobos Anomaly, except it's like goofy sound effects. It was pretty funny.
Because like how Doom works is that you can like when you make a mod like this, then it takes the Doom mod and replaces every entity that you wanted to replace.
Yeah.
With
wow.
that. Like it replaces the guns, the enemies, some of the decorations, even the textures.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
How about Vlambeer's own Gun Gods?
I don't.
That one's free on Steam as
one.
well.
So
it's basically like Wolfenstein.
Okay.
Like it's very they made like a modern Wolfenstein. The Wolfenstein 3D.
Yeah, I was gonna say like there's already one called Wolfenstein, and even it isn't the modern Wolfenstein anymore.
No, but like it's kind of cool that they made like kind of a game in that style.
Dracologist, you wanted to say what?
Samorost, which is one of the Animata games. Wanted to say like Ballistic NG was free for a while before the game got flashed out so much that they could actually ask money for it. Mm-hmm. It's a Wipeout clone.
Nice.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
Good.
Let me see here. No, I think we got a good list going here.
I mean, think of many others.
Yeah, I can only think of like
every shareware ever made. Episode 1 of Duke Nukem 1 and 2. Episode 1 of Heretic.
Jackrabbit level 1.
Yeah, great.
But I think we answered that pretty well. Do you either of you have any last words on either the topic or the question of the week?
Turnip fudge.
Yeah, I think I'm probably good.
All right, guys, I think we should wrap up the show for this week then. We want to thank our fans who contributed questions and comments. Thank you for everything. Everybody commented this week. This was great. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. Lotus, do we have any reserves for questions?
I know for a fact we have one more. Let me see if we have more than that. We have 2 more.
Okay. We still would like to have a fair amount more just to have them to sit on. But so keep it up, guys. Thank you very much for the last couple of weeks. You guys have given us a little bit of a reserve, more reserve than we've been used to lately.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So you can catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Twitter, then perhaps, or on Twitter, on Discord, I blew it! Then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me on Skype, Steam, and Discord under the name of Dracologist.
Wonderful. Well, we will catch everybody on Tuesday. We'll see you then.
Until next time, everyone.
Good night.